Welcome to the Business Finance Bulletin, episode 138. Welcome again to the latest Business Finance Bulletin with me, Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services. In this bulletin, statistics on setting up and running your own business, switching your bank current account, and the launch of a new crowdfunding platform from Tescos. Let's start this bulletin by taking a look at two new surveys focusing on starting up and running your own business. Now, the first of those surveys has come out from Barclays Bank, and they went out and asked 2,000 people across the UK about their aspirations of setting up in business. And from the replies, Barclays extrapolated that approximately 10.9 million people have had the idea to set up and run their own business, but never did anything about it. Now, perhaps not surprisingly, the age band where this is most prevalent are the 18 to 34-year-olds, with 33% of those surveyed said that they really wanted to start their own business, but they didn't. And often many of them said they saw somebody else running with the idea and making a success of it. Well, what are the barriers that stop people setting up their own business? Well, perhaps not surprisingly, number one, at 51% of them said the major barrier was funding. And we know getting money for startups is tough. The high street banks see it as high-risk sector, and so they really don't like to get involved in it. The next barrier, with 42% of them saying they just didn't know where to start. Too daunting when it comes to setting up a business. Well, that's really about getting the right support around you, making sure you seek out some advice from other people who are running a business, local government advice bodies as well. And 38% of them said they just didn't have the confidence, probably because of funding and not knowing really where to start. So you can see a number of barriers there, and it's down to getting the right support in place. Move on now to more established businesses. How are they feeling in the current economic climate? Well, there's an annual report called The DNA of an Entrepreneur, carried out by Hiscox, the insurance company, and they've just released their latest annual report. And perhaps not surprisingly, some mixed findings. First of all, positive, 64% of businesses said they've seen an increase in turnover over the last 12 months, and 63% of them have said they've seen an increase in profits. Not bad. But I guess the sting in the tail is about the feeling of optimism, and it's not surprising, perhaps given where we are globally and obviously what's going on in Europe, that optimism levels are beginning to fall a bit. This time last year, 64% of businesses said they were optimistic. This year, 60%. So there has been a fall in the feeling of optimism, and that's also working its way through the desire to increase their investment plans. Last year, 65% of businesses said they were planning to increase investment. This year, it's 61%. So still a good strong figure, but clear evidence starting to come through that businesses are feeling a little bit less confident about the next 12 months ahead. So if that's you, just make sure that you clearly identify your target market, be very clear about what your business model is, get out there and get the sales in. I've mentioned in previous bulletins how keen the government is to ensure that there is strong competition in the financial services market. Now, one of the core products or services that both small businesses and individuals use is, of course, the bank current account. And the government has been concerned about how few people were actually switching banks. Now, the main reason, of course, why people don't do it is it's seen as a bit of a faff, a bit of a hassle. When you think about it, your salary goes in there, your wages go in there, you've got direct debits, standing orders, your debit cards. It all seems a bit daunting about switching from one bank to another. Well, that is why 3 years ago, the current account switch service was launched. There's a government-backed website and a portal which is designed to make switching bank accounts so much easier. There are now 43 banks on there, and they provide an undertaking that everything will be switched within 7 days, with leaving you to do nothing as regards advising direct debit processes of your new bank. Well, I say it's 3 years now, and some figures have been released which show that 3.2 million people have used the service. Of those, 74,000 are small businesses. So if you are kind of dissatisfied with your bank, just go along to the current account switching website, which is currentaccount.switch.co.uk, and have a look at how you can access that service to make sure that you get the very best banking deal. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems that supermarkets are really doing everything they can to make sure that they become the central hub in our lives when it comes to buying everything that we need. And this has now just been extended to the provision of financial services for small businesses. Yes, Tescos has just announced that it's launching its own crowdfunding platform for small businesses. Yes, Tescos are now a crowdfunder. The website's called Back It, and it is focused on food and drink manufacturers only, not other businesses. And so if you're in that game and you're looking to get additional working capital, or perhaps buy assets, new vehicles for deliveries or machinery for production, you can now go along to Tesco's Back It, put up your campaign, and individuals will then pledge funds in order to help you get what you want. So if you are in that food and drink sector and you're in need of funds, go along to that website, which is backit.tesco.com, and have a look there, see if that could work for you. Well, that's it for this bulletin, and as ever, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and a share amongst your colleagues. If you're watching on the YouTube version, don't forget that you can get the podcast version to listen to at your leisure, available on iTunes, SoundCloud and Stitcher. Just go to those channels and search for Business Finance Bulletin. And if you're on the podcast version, pop along to YouTube. Just search for Rob Warlow, and there you will find this bulletin and all other bulletins available on that channel. So thanks very much for being with me. Look forward to being with you again next time. Have a great, successful and profitable week. Bye-bye now.